All right, what is up here, YouTube? Jigsaw0097 here today. I'm making my EA press conference video. I just actually got finished watching it. I know I'm late, but I just had to work late tonight, but I want to bring you this now. Overall, I give this conference like a 3 out of 10, guys. I'm just going to say that right now. This was actually one of the worst E3 conferences I've ever watched because other than Anthem, they pretty much showed nothing. Like, there was no surprises, no excitement, I guess. I could be alone in this, but I just was very underwhelmed with what was shown at this press conference, and I will kind of talk about why. I do have like notes here. I'm going to kind of just go over the conference in the order that it was, and then I'll kind of just talk about each game and each revelation, whatever you want to call it, as it happened. So the first game they showed off was Battlefield 5. As you know, there was already a controversy with this game because they had like a paraplegic woman and all this stuff. Like there's this huge backlash right now because they're putting women in these World War II games. And the announcement trailer for Battlefield 5 was like a couple months ago. So already this game had a kind of a bad reputation going in. And then they announced that it's going to have they showed the multiplayer. It's going to have like movable turrets now. You can like build sandbags. Again, they didn't show a lot. That's the problem. What they did show was very sparse, and basically they just confirmed that there's going to be a Battle Royale mode, guys. Another Battle Royale mode, because that's what we need in every single game now, and it's getting really old. No offense to anyone that likes Battle Royale. I just think it's one of those fads. This is like the new Call of Duty of this generation. Like, when I was in like my early 20s, we had like Call of Duty, and now the kids in their 20s have like Fortnite, you know. So that's kind of what they announced. And you know, I've noticed a lot of games are doing this. Like Red Dead has announced that they're gonna have Battle Royale. I mean, there's jokes now. It's like Madden Royale, you know. So yeah, that's kind of all they showed with Battlefield 5, guys. They showed that you can move turrets and you can like build stuff, and there's like a story mode that they're going to show tomorrow at E3 or at Xbox's press conference. So I'll have to talk about that in my Xbox video, but other than that, they just showed, you know, it's Battlefield. You're going to get more of what you like. If you love Battlefield, that's cool. I mean, you're going to get what you like here, and now you also get a Battle Royale mode. So yeah, lots to love there. Sorry, getting my water here. And then the next thing they talked about, we knew this was coming, guys. It gets so old every year. If you're a fan of the series, again, I'm not trying to like just completely crap on this, but it just does not need to be at this press conference, and that is FIFA. They show off FIFA 19. They brought out like the World Cup and all this stuff, and they made this big deal out of it, and I'm like thinking, this is a gaming conference. This is not sports. You know, like, we don't need to see this in a gaming conference. We get it. And the reason they do this is because they don't have enough to show us. They don't have anything to show us, guys, because every year these sports games, they're the same. Now look at me. I'm a huge football fan, but I don't need them to talk about Madden every year. I don't care. I know what Madden is. I don't need you to tell me that you added like a franchise mode, or I don't know, what was it last year? They added like a career mode with a player, and it's like lasted like 2 hours when you actually played it. So it's like, I don't need all this stuff from them. And they did it again with FIFA. Very unoffendable. I can't even really talk. All they did was they announced that there's going to be like a World Cup emulator in 2018, and then they talked about the 2019 game having like some kind of career championship mode. That's it. So there you go for FIFA. And then the CEO came out. He talked about Origin Access Premier, which this is actually a decently cool idea if you really like EA games, because we already have EA Access on the Xbox, or other consoles I think now have it. But basically, if you are a big fan of EA now, you can not only get the games that already exist, but you can get like pre-ordering. You can get like early access to games before they're like coming out, or like when they're going to come out, like a couple weeks early or something. Microsoft already did this with their Game Pass program, I think is what it's called. And so I kind of said too, like when Microsoft did their Game Pass, this kind of was going to open the floodgates, and it's good to see that other developers are willing to do this because, like game like Sea of Thieves, which didn't look good at all, I got to play it because I just used Game Pass, so I didn't have to like go out and pay $60 for a game that I was going to play for like a day. So it's cool to see that EA is doing that. I will say that. It's cool to see that they're doing some kind of early access thing like that. So still kind of uneventful, but cool to see. Then they go into, they didn't show anything here, but the host, I don't know her name, guys. If you guys can comment down below if you know the host of the E3 show. She talked to Vince Zampella, I think is his name. He's the guy from Infinity Ward back in the day that helmed Modern Warfare, and then that whole fiasco with EA or with Activision, and he went to EA and made Titanfall. I guess they're working. Respawn Entertainment is his developer studio. I guess they're working on a Star Wars game, and it's going to be called Star Wars Fallen Jedi Order. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes because I wanted to make sure I covered all of this without forgetting. And they didn't show anything with this game, which I don't really mind because they announced that it's not coming out until the end of 2019. So we have like a year and a half to wait for that. And honestly, we don't need more Star Wars at this point. It's getting oversaturated. So I'm glad they waited on that. It just kind of told us that, like this is what we're working on. They said that it's going to take place between episodes 4 and 5. It's going to be about the Dark Ages for the Jedis, like when the clones and the kill orders were all set on them. And it's going to kind of show, I guess it sounds like it's going to show like the downfall of the Jedi, so that'll be kind of cool to see. So that game sounds promising, whatever. They didn't show anything though, but it was a nice little tidbit. And then the next thing they talk about, they're in the Star Wars already, so they bring up Battlefront 2 again. As you guys know, this game's reputation is complete garbage right now. There is a fan community for it, but it's not the success that EA thought it would be, that hoped it would be. And there was even rumors of like Disney taking away the license of Star Wars for the fiasco. That fiasco is the loot box progression system, guys. They pretty much forced you to pay money if you wanted to get certain items or grind your butt off like ridiculous amounts of hours. We're talking like 40 hours for like a character kind of thing. Like imagine if this was like Smash Bros and you had to play like 40 hours to get like Falco or something. That's kind of the equivalent to it. Or get some like stupid character skin, or I don't know. I haven't really played Battlefield because it's not my kind of game, but I keep up with the gaming news, so I know about this. But the guy, I will give them credit. The guy came up, there was like some Ewok expansion. He was talking about how he listened to the fans. It sounds like they were humbled, which is great. Like, I don't mind if developers mess up if they're willing to admit their mistakes. That's been the problem with Destiny, is that they haven't learned anything from all the crap that they've done and pissed off all the people that they've pissed off. It looks like these guys are genuine. They actually, cared, and they were saying how they're going to release like a Clone Wars expansion. If you guys have seen the movie Solo, they showed that with the Aaron, or what is his name? Alden Ehrenreich. I never can say that guy's name. They showed his Han Solo, so you can play as him and do like the Kessel Run. So, cool. If you're into that, like, that's cool. So they showed that off, and then after that, they actually started going to the indie games. If you guys remember Unravel, I think it was E3 2016 or 2015, I want to say, when that game was first announced, the first one. There's a sequel actually out now. They said it's out today for that game called Unravel 2, and it's like spelled TWO because it's going to be like a co-op game. There's like a red and a blue yarn guy now, and they work together, so they showed that off. You guys can go play that now. And then another indie developer is making a game called Sea of Solitude. I can't quite remember what the developer's name is, but you basically are like a shadow person. The gameplay looks like very like Zelda, so pretty, interesting, but again, these are just underwhelming for me. Like, personally, I like indie games, but it's like I don't watch E3 for this. I watch E3 for the huge news like Borderlands 3 or Elder Scrolls 6, It's cool that these are getting recognition. As a fellow artist, I'd love to see that because it gives me hope, but I just don't really get like super excited for that anymore. And then, of course, they went over Madden, this pretentious crap again this year. With last year it was with FIFA. They showed all the stupid competitors and all that. And this year it's Young Kiv, I guess is the dude's name, and he's shown how he won the Madden Cup and all this stuff. And that's cool and all, but it's like, again, we're not watching a sports show here. We're watching a gaming show. And I really don't have a lot of faith in MLG anyway. I think MLG, it's a competitive thing, but I don't like that it's being treated like a sport these days. It does take skill and dedication, but I just don't really care to see it on like the spotlight all the time. So, especially when he's playing a game like Madden, it's like, we already know what football is. Like, why would anyone watch someone play Madden when they can just watch football? I never understood that. So, and then Juju Smith-Schuster, he was the guy that Young Kiv beat, I guess. So that was quick and pointless, I thought. And then we get to a mobile game, which they dedicated a ridiculous amount of the show to this, guys. I think like 10 or 15 minutes. Probably like 10 minutes. Command & Conquer Rivals, which is some new mobile game that they're making to like bring Command & Conquer back. This is a franchise from the 90s, if you're not aware. Real-time strategy, similar to like StarCraft, Warcraft, games, Age of Empires, stuff like that. But I guess they're bringing it back mobile form. But they showed like these two guys playing, and it was like ridiculously long and boring, and just looked like any other mobile game you'd play. And it was just, I was just thinking, like, of all the games, like, why would you show this for this long? So there was that. They announced that, and that's a game you can go download right now too if you have Android. I think you have to have Android. Yeah. So I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I know you can get it now, released now on something. And then we get to why everyone showed up, guys. This is the final part of the show. Anthem. So I'm gonna actually spend an extended amount of time talking about this, because I think this is the most extensive part of the whole show. They showed off Anthem. It's created by BioWare, so you guys know Mass Effect, Dragon Age, back in the day Jade Empire, and Knights of the Old Republic. These guys are storytellers. A lot of people need to realize, though, that the BioWare now is not the BioWare then. The BioWare now is the one that made like Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda. This is not the same BioWare that made the Mass Effect trilogy or Dragon Age 1 and 2, and especially not the ones that made Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire. The only familiar face is Casey Hudson. He shows up in the show to talk about Anthem, how he was working on it before he left and how he came back. So I want to make that clear, because there's something in game development called business culture, or company culture, where the games reflect what the culture is. So this is not the same culture that was back then. That's why Andromeda didn't quite feel right if you played it. Like, it was a serviceable Mass Effect game, but that's all it was. It wasn't anything amazing like the trilogy was. And so you can't go into Anthem thinking you're going to get that. It's just not going to happen. This is a new BioWare. They're making a new name for themselves. And they're making a game that's a little unique, I guess, because they're saying that they want to focus on the single player as much as they want to focus on the multiplayer, which is something MMOs try to do all the time. Like, I'm a big Elder Scrolls Online player, and Elder Scrolls Online tries to do that all the time. They have like Somerset just came out. They have like the main Somerset Island that you can do, but then they also have the raid, the trial, and then of course the PvP Cyrodiil. But that game does feel very disconnected. It's like you either are doing this or this or this. It's not like one and the same, and that's something that Anthem is saying they're trying to do. They're trying to make the single player and the multiplayer blend seamlessly, and that's an interesting idea, guys. I must admit, like, it's a different take on this. Personally, I would rather have had this just be like a co-op single player game, like a 4-player co-op game that you just play with 4 of your buddies, but it's going to be like a quasi MMO similar to Destiny. In fact, I'm going to bring up Destiny a lot because there's a lot of things about this that reminded me of Destiny that made it kind of underwhelming to me, because it has this art style that I just don't like. It looks like every other game, guys. If you've seen the Anthem trailer, you know what I'm talking about. It looks generic as hell. It's just more robot suits, more like monsters, like Planet Earth Ruins. It almost looks like Halo and Destiny had a baby. Like, that's the best way I can describe what it looks like and why I don't like it, just because it reminds me of better things that I already like. I'm not a Destiny fan, but I love Halo. Halo is one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. But they showed off the. It also has like the RPG elements, but again, this is not the BioWare from back then. So the RPG elements look very light. It looks like you have like one or two abilities, maybe an ultimate. That's about it. And then it's 4-player co-op, so in their squads, which this is where big Destiny comparisons come in. There's basically a mage, a rogue, a tank, and like a jack of all trades, like soldier guy. I forget the names of like the robots, but you have to pick one, which also is disappointing. I thought when they announced this, you were just going to be able to play as whatever you wanted, but you have to pick a suit and like customize it. You can switch, I guess, depending on what mission you're doing. They kind of hinted that you could like switch the suit. So like if someone's playing the tank and you normally play the tank, you could like switch for that game and play like the rogue. But it sounds like they each have their own abilities and you're gonna have to level them individually, so that's kind of disappointing. I'm kind of just speculating, though. They didn't actually say this, but it's heavily implied. If you guys watch this, you know. And then they kind of just went through some story stuff where they went and they're looking for the Anthem of Creation, is what they call it. The story is something about like the Anthem of Creation, and the world is like really hostile, so they have to wear these suits or they'll die. Like kind of like a Dark Souls type world where like the whole environment is out to kill you. And then they fight this like bug thing at the end, but they didn't show the boss fight. They cut it off. They said that you have to go play the demo or whatever. So that's basically all they did with that's all they showed. They just showed like a brief co-op mission. Like it's got damage numbers. You know, it's pretty much what you would expect from a game like this. Excuse me. It's got like the damage numbers, the RPG, very light RPG elements. I don't want to use that term because this does not look like a deep RPG. This is more like an action co-op, I don't know, action game like Gears of War maybe. There's some cool segments though they show where you can like, it's pretty seamless. Like they were flying, they attacked a creature, then they go like under the water and they just keep flying. So it looks like the navigation will be pretty seamless, but I don't know, guys. I was pretty underwhelmed with Anthem. Like I wasn't too excited to begin with, but I expected a little bit more out of it. Especially after how bad they screwed up with Mass Effect Andromeda. I was thinking that they're gonna really, like, this was the game that they were working on, you know, but that's why Mass Effect suffered. But I don't know, overall this is just me personally, you know, I'm not saying like the game's gonna be bad. I don't think I'm gonna play it. I really don't. I had no interest in it. The art style just bothers me for some reason. It just looks generic as hell to me. It's just another robot game. Like the stupid art, they always put like the lights on their head, like Titanfall's another one. They put lights on the head in like different spots every time. It's like, I'm tired of robots in these games. I mean, if you're gonna do like a sci-fi game, I don't know, like why don't you do like an RPG horror or something like that? There's like so many games that people haven't done yet, that would kind of fit this mold better. Like obviously, like most games have been done now, but like a AAA game, but. I don't know. I mean, it looks fun. I mean, I probably will try it, but I don't think I'm going to buy it and play it that much. It just doesn't catch my interest, and there's a lot more to come in E3. Like I said, overall, I'm giving this E3 conference like a 3 out of 10. It was boring. It was pretentious. It was just boring. That's the best way I can describe it. I mean, other than Anthem, there was no real big, like, reveal. There was a couple announcements, like the Jedi game, but they didn't show anything, so... and then there was like Unravel 2, like the indie games were the only new games they talked about, and then they just talked about FIFA and Madden, like we already know what that is. Let's see, just go over my notes one more time. Battlefield 5, like Battlefield 5 is becoming like Call of Duty to me, guys. I just don't care about that franchise anymore. I actually have not played Battlefield since Battlefield 3. Bad Company 2 was the one that I really was into back in the day. If they made a Bad Company 3, I might be able to get back into Battlefield, but I'm tired of these, like, They go to World War One, then they go to World War Two, then they go in the future. Oh, we went too far in the future. Now we got to go back to World War One again. Like this is how these war games are now. Call of Duty goes to World War II. Now it's going back into the future with Black Ops 3 or 4, whatever it is. And now it's going to be like Overwatch with Battle Royale mode. You know, like this is gaming. This is gaming, guys, in 2018. Another thing that really rubbed me the wrong way in this conference is they kept talking about loot boxes as a selling point, how they don't have them. And I'm like, that's how bad gaming's getting with that, is that you have to now say that you don't have them as like a positive selling point. It's like, oh, they don't have loot boxes, I'm buying the game. I mean, it's like, this was never a thing like 10 years ago. It's just insane how much games have changed like that. But yeah, I mean, this is a 20-minute video, guys. I don't want to keep you much longer. That's pretty much my overall thoughts of the EA press conference. So what did you guys think? Comment down below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I'll be doing more videos for E3 over this weekend. And also, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for watching this video. It was very long. It's not my typical content. But as always, guys, this has been Jigsaw0097 here, bringing you the E3 coverage, and I will see you guys in the coming videos.